Say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ready, go. Hey guys, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez. I'm coming at you today with a Veve OMI update video. Guys, if you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. I love y'all. Everyone say hello to Dashy. Hello, Dashy. We do have Akil Patterson coming on over in the next minute or so. I think there may be some technical difficulties, but he will be on. Thanks for everyone for watching my podcast with Steph Celentano and Justin Applepie, aka Justin Pierce. Before that was really good. It takes about an hour before Justin gets in there. He had to get out of work, but we needed to do that because we had a Toy Story drop. We had Pixar, yesterday. And for those of you that have missed it, or maybe just didn't know where to look, or people that are here for Akil Patterson and like, oh hey, actually speaking of which, let's add him to the stream. Let's get this bread. What's going on?
What's going on, Randy? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
6 feet above dirt beats the alternative, as I'm often told.
That is true. And any day above ground is very good. It's a good day. If you have a laugh, or if you have a good meal at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. We have a bunch of people that wanted to say thank you, including myself, for that stream you did with Reese the other day. That was very well done. That's probably one of the best ones that I've seen with him, if not the best. So congrats on that.
We appreciate it. And just to let everybody know, I'm very much aware of a lot of people, their frustrations with the project. But when it comes down to it, I look people in the face, and I just want to tell you this from the bottom of my heart, guys. We're working on like 5 or 6 different things right now. So if you're frustrated with like not getting all the information at your fingertips, you're actually in a good spot compared to a lot of other projects. And I know there's a lot of projects that haven't been able to answer any questions about development, devs. I mean, we've got 5 or 6 avenues running around here. So anyway, just to let you all know, I do appreciate the love, but let's give our project the most amount of time it can. And remember, every question I asked was in a 12-month period to be very specific.
I love the 4 quarters, which is great. My the biggest takeaway I got from that was when they were asking two big ones. They were asking about the money, on what they do with the money, and they said that it goes to paying X amount of thing, but it also said going to paying for the Veveverse. Now, if they would have said, "Hey, we're paying our guys," and left it at that, well, that was it. So I think him saying paying for the Veveverse suggests or confirms that they have a larger or just a separate company developing it for us, and that makes me very bullish.
What I was going to say, Andy, is like that right there says a lot, because come on, if you've ever worked in tech or people in the tech sector, it's really hard for one shop to do all the things that are needed to make that to fix the problems that are within inside of that technology. And so when you're building things, you do have to outsource, and sometimes it can be very costly. Like, hey, I need somebody that can come in and fix this specific problem. And those often are very expensive. I mean, devs are expensive. I mean, if you looked at recently, not to go off on too much of a tangent, Microsoft has had to come up with a flat baseline salary for developers. It is now $350,000. So anyone who's watching right now and you want a career in something, look at it being a developer.
Yeah. That's bananas. I wonder how much of that because that's their baseline now. I wonder how much of that was agreed upon recently because of their most recent acquisition, and those other people that were contracted with, Blizzard, Activision. Hey, we're gonna snipe you or grab hold of you. You'll keep your salaries at like $250 or whatever it is, and they get to pay them that for a year. I wonder if they're doing something like that.
Well, I do know. So I was talking to a senior executive over at Nike, and they told me that their hardest part right now is getting young people in the future tech game to stay with them. So before it was, hey, give me great benefits, give me a great salary, a good lifestyle, and I'll stay forever.
Yeah.
Now people are like, well, I work from home. Why can't I work on 5 or 6 different projects? Why do I have to be exclusive only to you? And so that is actually leading us into what we believe is, how Web3 is developing, is that it's not about a singular, it's about a duality. It's more than just one. They're interconnecting and they're building each other up. And a lot of them are working on different change. I mean, they're working on different teams, and then they leave one team and say, hey, I was working over here with this project. I'd love to bring what we were doing over here with you guys. You know, it's good for it's good for our ecosystem.
Yeah, it's great. It's like students in college that use, their research for one paper and but then they go use it for another paper. They could go do this with, especially smaller companies that, let's say something like Veve, they're able to go and most likely get someone that was developing, let's say in the DC universe, or let's say someone like CVS. CVS just applied for their Web3 for their metaverse, which is ridiculous. But if you can get somebody from a major multi-billion dollar company and they just want to work on Veve just because they like Disney NFTs or they like Pixar or whatever, you're getting the knowledge and resources of people that had hundreds of billions of dollars and you're bringing it to Veve. I think that's very, very bullish.
That's very, very bullish. Hey, by the way, we did not coordinate this. I looked at your sweater and looked at mine. I'm like, oh, look at us. We're kind of coordinated. Although you have, is that a zero? Is that
no,
a zero?
That's Bowser. Yeah, it's a Bowser jacket.
Okay, I thought it was a zero. I thought, because remember the zero hat with the little flame guy.
Yeah, no, the Bowser jacket. It got really cold in here after my last stream, so I had to put on a jacket here. Or like Sith colors, Darth Maul, Vader, and all that.
That's what's up, brother.
What was your biggest takeaway from that last stream with Reese? What got you most pumped and excited?
I think what got me most pumped and excited was everything that happened off camera. So I really can't talk about it.
Okay. So you did have like a little bit before and a little bit after.
Yeah. So I always, if anybody's ever watched, my podcast or I try to set up about 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after to kind of debrief with the person. And normally what I do is, I start asking them, questions that they may not be able to answer on camera, or that they may not like to answer on camera, and that I then know how to curtail that next question.
Okay.
Because there's obviously there's always one person that wants to know something that's like wildly inappropriate. And so you've got to figure out, like, how do I ask your question without being like that guy, the guy that insults everybody in the room. So I take my time. I do a little bit of background informational check. And not to mention, I've been in the business, sports, tech world, for quite some many years in advocacy, and so you learn how to ask the question without asking the question.
Yeah, I understand, and there's definitely a nuance to that. And I know you have a lot of experience. You do this a lot. I've noticed, building on your premise before, you said that Veve has a lot of. They answer a lot of questions more than other projects do. Like, I've been in the Telegrams and Discord groups of other metaverses like My Neighbor Alice, or like Earth 2 and V Park, Upland, Decentraland, whatever. And Veve does seem to have the most fire, the one that most has a lot of it. In your experience with having conversations with people, what other projects right now, if any, are ones that can hold a candle to Veve and Akomi? Which ones are close?
That answers their, well, I'm not going to, it's a protocol, more like the Algorand. Their community, their leadership is very communicative. It is very much responsive, and they're transparent. They're trying to be as transparent as possible. They have the Algorand Foundation. And so I believe that in terms of just communication wise, they're top notch. They're very good. I even think Coinbase as a company does a very good job communicating its flaws and its successes with its community. It sends out constant emails and constant updates, and it's trying to help people with education. And although it's centralized, it does have that component that people feel secure with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really what most people want. They want security. Let's be honest. When you go into a bank, know that if anything happens, you're going to get your money. You can be able to, yell at the teller, yell at the manager. You can get your money.
Yeah.
Recently, Coinbase, I think it's called Coinbase Zero now, has a monthly subscription fee where you don't pay any transaction fees when you're purchasing it. So I just got that. I loaded up on that. I was like, this is great. Wow. Yeah. So it's like $29 a month and I don't have to pay anything. Like, hell yeah.
That's amazing.
and it's almost backed by like them. Like, hey, if you lose money, we back you. I'm like, up to like $500,000.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
yes, thank you.
Yeah,
So
that's
no.
amazing. I would, and they're probably, and that's just not like a rent roll. That's just guaranteed money from people every month that just comes in. I don't know how many millions of people they have, but even if 500,000 people do that, and you're at, $30 a month, it's a lot of money. It's like $15 million,
Yeah.
each month coming in,
Yeah.
which they don't.
Yeah, they've got some, and they don't need it. But now I'm like, you know what? The way they're setting themselves up to operationally, they're going to expand across the United States and across the world, in the Mexico. I think there's a lot of opportunities, and so if anybody's looking for jobs, I mean, really educate yourself on exchanges and Web3 and communications and development, because there's a lot of opportunities opening up. I mean, this is the beginning of the internet all over again.
And speaking of opportunities and big companies like Coinbase doing big things, I want your opinion on something. This might be my conspiracy mind reaching a little bit here, but Gate.io has recently come out and says we're not allowing anyone from the US to do any withdrawals. And there is some theories out there that says all of the smaller ones, the smaller exchanges might be bullied into um, not doing those types of things so that larger exchanges can come in and swoop up all of the soup of all of that content and all of those fees. Think that's something that might be true?
So Randy, I'm going to share something with you that I don't often tell a lot of people.
Okay.
The banking industry is running scared. They are very fearful for their existence. And so if you've noticed, a lot of banks are trying to either consume other banks, and almost in like mergers or hostile takeovers. And they're merging their brands. They're building a base, and then they're currently on the back end working on digital CBDCs.
Yeah.
So if that is occurring, what they're probably doing is saying you're still going to have to use a bank to get that CBDC.
Yeah.
So we're going to know more when regulations start rolling out from the administration, with a little bit more clear contextually. But I think ultimately, you're not wrong. They're going to want to say, you know what, you need to use your nation's bank to get your money out if you want it in fiat. Otherwise, you can convert it in USDC or some other CBDC, and then they can still track it for tax purposes.
So if that is happening, do you think that there is someone like maybe like a JP Morgan or Citibank that will come out with their own exchange and try to bully these other exchanges like, hey, if you want to do that? Or do you think they'd work in conjunction with the existing exchanges?
I've got a feeling they're going to work in conjunction.
Okay.
It's almost like you don't want to blow up the ship, just because there's a fuse missing, right? So you don't blow up the whole ship, or as my brother would say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You just need to make some changes, and so I believe they're going to work with those exchanges, and if not work with them, they might just purchase them outright. I mean, they do have the cash.
That's a good point. That especially companies like BlackRock, which has like 10 trillion on their asset management, which is nuts to think about. That's so much money. That's buy countries with that. But
I've got a mentor, and I tell folks all the time, my mentor is a very, very smart individual, and they once said, the funny thing about one of these asset management funds, he goes, is it's not, he says, it's not my money. It's a bunch of other people's money that they just tell me I get to control. And so when you're controlling that amount of money, you're like, oh, well, it's free money. it's free play money. So to you folks with all that money, God bless you.
agreed. For the amounts that we're talking about, like if you look at OMI's current market cap, if we have, I think it's less than $1 billion now out of the circulating supply. How long do you think before we have like smart money? Like smart money is coming into like Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. How long before they make that connection? Oh, hey, there's only one crypto associated with Disney, and we got to get in that. How long do you think before that happens?
Well, there is a reason why that may not be coming to fruition as fast as I would like it to.
No.
And that's obviously because of currently we're in a global fluffery, I guess. The instability of the regions where crypto has been mined historically, the insecurity of the Russian government, the Ukrainian government. Now we've got, I think, Iraq and Iran shooting missiles at each other. I think the instability in that region is going to make smart money not want to get in as of right now. I mean, because everyone wants to stay liquid.
Yeah.
So if you want to stay liquid, you're like, not a good time. But I do see us making a nice run probably next October.
Okay.
So within the year, we'll have some money coming in, but it's going to be difficult because if we can get through the summer without anything major, and I think we'll have a slowdown because of another COVID outbreak or something, hopefully not. But we'll have a slowdown around October, and I think some institutional money will go back into that, and some smart money will come in as well.
Okay. And you're saying next October 2023 or this one?
October 2022. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So I still believe a lot of things are going to happen within the 4 quarters, but I think it's just going to happen later. So what I would have originally projected is that by like Q3 we'd be like rolling, but this is pushing itself to Q4.
Yeah. No, agreed. And that would go in line with saying 4 to 5 exchanges as well in that 12-month period. Figuring 2 of them are probably going to be smaller exchanges like Bitmart, and one of them might be a medium like a KuCoin, Kraken, Gemini. And I do think one of them might be like a Binance or a Coinbase. I don't expect both of them to happen in right next to each other, but I think one or the other is probably a pretty good bet.
There are 2 things that here's my thought process on that one though. In order for Binance to come in, they would have to have a greater reason to trump Coinbase. And the reason I say trump Coinbase is because Coinbase currently right now does have the partnership with Immutable X.
Yeah.
So because that's already on the books, it would make more logical sense, in my humble opinion, that Coinbase would come before Binance. But because of CZ's relationship with David Yu, anything can happen. So that's like here's the business, like, and that's why one of the reasons why I tell people I'm always looking at this like you are, Andy. And it's here's the business side of me that says the logical thing to do would be go with Coinbase. It's in the American markets. Most of the IPs have been American IPs. This should be a good relationship. But if it's Binance, because of the relationship that exists with the CEO, then there could be, that would help with a major push. But I don't know if it would help with the interoperability of the actual OMI being burned through the Immutable X to OMI to NFTs through buying land in the Veveverse, which if you're watching, buying land in the Veveverse is going to be probably the #1 burn we'll see, because there is no IP attached to buying land in the Veveverse.
Well, I think that maybe not all of it. I do think that some of it will have, like, if you want to say, and this is just pure speculation here, but let's say a monster comes out in the Veveverse every, like once a day, and you have, Marvel Mighties. Maybe they get like, that you can use to attack it. Maybe you get like a +1 defense or +1 speed if your house is in Marvel land. If you want it. And I think maybe some of those things might happen, or it might not. But I do think you're right.
I think that'd be really cool, though. I mean, because as many sets of Marvel Mighties as I had to pick up on early on. That's probably the only thing. I probably have like 25 Sam Wilsons too. I'm terrible. I just wanted them.
I only have one of each of the Marvel Mighties, but I mean, there's only so many people that can do that, because especially with the secret rare that they had for the Spider-Man 2099.
Oh, see, I don't have that set at all. Yeah, that set
okay.
I did. Yeah, I've got all the other ones, the early editions. I do not have that one. I think I've got one character, and I think it's Catwoman.
Okay.
Yeah, and the hard part for me with that one, just if we're gonna talk about NFTs, is I got the Pluto. And I was like, should I sell this? Should I keep it? I kept it. I look back and I go, I should have sold it, but
Yeah, I mean
But
that's shoulda,
yeah,
coulda, woulda, right?
well,
I mean,
at this
I
point, I
do.
don't care. It's
Yeah,
the only secret rare in Disney collection. So
yeah. Which is what I love. So I have that whole set too, which down right now, down pretty crazy. But again, it's long term. It's Disney's the only secret rare.
yeah,
Uh, for the I've made a couple of videos recently. One got a lot of flack. Um, I I was not the first person. Cavell was the first person to say that a $10 OMI is possible. And then I said it after him after doing the math. I was like, okay, yeah, figure $2 trillion market cap by 2030, and we're at 200 billion OMI. It would be $10 to reach that $2 trillion market cap. But some things that if we stay down here, if we go down lower to like three zeros, 0.0009 or something like that, like just yesterday on the 13th, we had a billion OMI burn
yeah.
from Puddin Cheeks' chart, which is heckin' ridiculous. So, and that's at 0.004, 0.0035. If we get cut down by 75% and we go down to like 0.001 or 0.0009, then what are we going to do? We're going to burn $3 or $4 billion per 4 billion OMI per day.
Well, listen, we still have about 200. I think we've got about 255 billion OMI that still need to be burned out of the reserve wallet. So
Yeah.
we're okay, folks. We'll be just fine. Like, don't worry, we're gonna be all right. But
Oh, I'm excited for it, but
yeah,
I do think that one of the ways to get to $10 and above is by going to you have to burn 112 billion out of the circulating supply. But what might prevent us from doing that is by getting on these major exchanges and by going up. And if we don't burn as much, then
yeah.
that's just my
Well, no. So you're right. There is the risk you run there, and I think, listen, when we look long range strategy, one reason for the potential for the pause in the buybacks is because they don't know how. This is probably going a lot faster than we all talked about. Yeah, I know.
yeah.
As soon as we say Austin, yes, we're going to talk about buybacks. One of the reasons for the pause in the buybacks or the potential to bring them back and have that flexibility is because we're going a lot faster than we projected.
Yeah.
They did not project at 1 million users in December of this year of 2021. Sorry, I had to think about what year I'm in. They didn't. They were like, okay, we were anticipating like maybe like 300,000-400,000. We got 1 million, 1.5 million, 2 million, 2.2. It keeps growing. And so what they weren't ready for was the explosion in energy with zero marketing.
Yeah.
Zero marketing. That is what this is very strange when you have a company that has exploded to this level. I mean, I bet you if you do the evaluation, this might be a $4 billion company. If we do the evaluation right now, it potentially could be a $4 billion company.
Yeah. Vanity Fair, like 2 months ago, mentioned that they didn't say how much, but they said a multi-billion-dollar company is just what Veve was worth, not
Yeah.
including Akomi or Orbis or
Yeah. Orbis, which is the overarching parent company for both of them.
Yeah.
And so that means that we were too big, we're too fast. And so sometimes pausing the buybacks because they're unneeded
Yeah.
and saying, okay, let's reallocate funds towards building the Veveverse, building interoperability, making sure Immutable X is going to be able to work with us, making sure that we can, do all these other things. That's what we need to work on. We need to work on those things. And so they probably reallocated funds. That is 100% speculation. That is not something that Reese and I ever talked about. It's not something that Jeremy and I have ever talked about, nor Dan. This is not financial advice. Just let everybody know. These are just my experiences working in a profession that says when you are exceeding in your success rate, sometimes you have to slow down so you do not make bad mistakes.
Yeah, agreed. And this is part of what I love about them is what I also loved about Tesla, no marketing. Well, other companies might have a multi-million or even like I think Ford is like $1 billion marketing budget each year. Doesn't help. So for Akomi and Veve to do this without marketing, and they won't even need to. They could just tell other people, hey, you guys can market now for their own stuff. And Veve wouldn't need to spend a dime. They could reallocate that to other places, like you said, like building the Veveverse.
Yeah. Well, remember, that's something that Reese and I talked about too, was that, hey, we needed to get some other things done. Like So we're going to put a pause over here and focus on this over here. And now that they are trying to separate kind of the lines between here's OMI and here's Veve, okay, that's a good thing. And as many people are like, oh, they're going to sell. I'm like, why would you sell? Like they're going to sell it all together. If anything, if I was David, I'd be like, I'm selling you everything.
Yeah.
You're not getting one, you're getting all of it. You're getting the cold wallet, you're getting the token, and you're getting the app. So which one do you guys want? And I'm sure a company will take it all. Somebody will take it all if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to happen. I think that between Al and David and Dan and Jeremy and the people who have really put their names out behind this, they've went out on a limb here. They entered a world that they're not used to, and for
nobody
them,
was used to.
Well, but you also understand, Randy, that they're in a world that isn't forgiving. They are in if you're watching this and you're not a collector, like being a collector is like the mob, right? Like if you piss somebody off, they will come for you. You will never sell another collectible again. Yeah. They will make sure that you are boxed out and blocked out from some of the greatest technology things coming their way. And so for Jeremy and Al and David, this is like, I think this is their mic drop. This is that legacy that they're going to leave because they don't have to do this. Each one of these people have made tremendous gains in their own personal careers in this field. And so I believe wholeheartedly that they don't have to. And so they're doing this out of this is our mic drop. This is what we've been waiting for. This is how we get collectors to start being collectors again, instead of, I hate to say it, the greedy OJ trial kind of guys that are just collecting stuff and trying to steal it and resell it. And
I think Al might have been, if they were to do that, and I guess no one's going to be angry if they get like $1 billion paycheck, but if Al says I come out of retirement for this and he doesn't see it till the end, like Al's like a big intimidating linebacker. He used to play football. Like, you're not doing this.
But if he needs a backup, I got
him. Dan Chavez came on the podcast last week and said that they've definitely thought about what would they do after this. And this is, again, I would never want to underestimate the team, but this is probably going to be one of, if not the best thing that they've done in life. And what are they going to do afterwards? Like, you can only sit on the beach and sip mojitos for so long.
Well, you know what? I don't know how long you can sit on a beach and sip mojitos. But if it's any indication that I want to do that, then sign me up. I want to do it. I want to be with those guys. And so I always tell people there's only one crypto that I can talk about. It is OMI. I do give my big three, but they're all tethered to each other. OMI, IMX, and Ethereum. People are like, what are your big three? OMI, IMX, and Ethereum. They're all tied to each other. And if you want to go look for yourselves, please go ahead, do your own due diligence and hit some research, because those three, I believe, have great potential.
Yeah. Especially with Coinbase NFT partnering with Immutable X. And it's like, oh, okay, well, not only can we able to, I think that's just another doorway, another way in which we can get to Coinbase NFT.
Which most kids aren't following. These kids aren't following it. They're not following it, Randy.
Which is so strange. It's like information's out there. You just got to learn how to find it. So which one is your heaviest bag? Is it in Ethereum? Is it an OMI or Immutable X?
Obviously, Ethereum.
Yeah.
Ethereum, then OMI.
Okay.
Are the bags. But remember, I do have so there's different bags all over the place. So this is what I originally did. And for those of you who are still complaining about, I don't know how to go from L1 to L2, we talked about this originally. How much did you want to spend in the Veve verse? That's what I left in that Veve wallet. That's why it's sitting there. It's not there for, anything else. It's because that's the funds that I plan to use. I plan to stake. I plan to burn when we get there. So
are you doing the top tier staking?
What is it? 10,000, I think. Yeah.
The top tier is 50,000.
Oh, 50,000? No, I'm on
Yeah.
like the 10,000 level. Then I think I'm gonna. So I think I'm gonna stake at 10,000, and then I'm gonna proceed to purchase land. A majority of that was set aside for land grabs.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in like the old west. Like, gotta go grab some land. But yeah,
Get
I'm
your
gonna do
stake.
some land grabs. Yeah, stake and put my flag down. Hopefully as close to Disney as I can.
Yeah.
But that's real, and I don't sell any of my original collectibles. I don't sell any of them. Any of the sets I have, I hold on to them because those are all things that are going to allow me to buy that land a little bit faster than other people. So, you know, I'm sitting around like you, Randy. Like, yeah, I'll buy stuff if I can, but if not, I'll just go buy OMI. I'll put $6 into OMI every day because I keep losing all the comic book drops. I haven't got one of those since.
Yeah. I have a so right now I'd love to acquire more. I do have this tax bill I have to pay in April though. Once that's over with, I can start acquiring more. I have 130.1 million. So I'll eventually, if this stays down, if it goes even lower in summer, I'll try to get to like 135, 140, you know, see where it goes.
Listen, if that thing ever reaches 10 cents, you're just gonna be like, okay, 10% out. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, easily. I think that's pretty much a given. I mean, right now you have the perfect storm working against most of, not all of crypto, but that won't last forever. Yeah, that next bull run cycle in 2024, and you know, people coming in doing lots of. I mean, I assume people are coming in sweeping up all the markets. Like when you have J.P. Morgan and Chase, a bunch of banks that only offer crypto options to their wealthiest clients, you know, money's coming in, but they have to take care of the rich people first, and then it gets to the masses.
Well, but luckily for us, luckily for the way I see it is that as those rich people come into this market, they're already behind, and yes, they're going to fare well. But for guys like you and me, who, you know, we know a little bit of the struggle. We're like, all right, fine, whatever. Yeah. You know, we can sit here and eat ramen noodles for another 2 years. It ain't gonna hurt us.
Yeah. I had Taco Bell this morning, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I repurpose my lunch many different ways. I have, because I'm trying to get on this diet, and I do like Greek yogurt and granola, and then I'll do like cottage cheese and granola, and then like I just buy a big old bag of granola like this big, and I just repurpose it. So every day there's something different going in there.
When you talk to other people, whether it's like one of the higher ups at Nike or anyone else that you do for Gokshtein Media, how often do you mention to them, hey, have you checked out this Veve app?
Too much. Actually, so for the senior execs that I work with, a lot of their kids got into Veve because of me. Like I'd be like, hey, did you see this? And their kid be like, oh, you got that NFT? And then next thing you know, the kid's on it, and the dad's like, what'd you do to my kid, man? I'm like, what? He's always asking me for $60 for some NFT drop. And I go, well, at least he's asking me for $60 instead of like, 2 Ethereum.
It's a good point. It's a very good point.
Yeah, the kid's asking for $60 instead of 2 Ethereum so they can go buy, an MFR or a board. I mean, Bored Apes they're not even close to 2 Ethereum anymore. They're like, what, 21 Ethereum? I think they're.
Oh god, yeah, they're insane. I think at minimum.
Yeah. And I got a buddy. He's got another one of my friends who let me say, did not grow up very wealthy. He now has 2 Bored Apes, and he's just like, he's sitting there going, I don't know what to do, man. And I'm like,
I'll probably sell one of
those. I'll send him your information. But he was one of those guys. He got in at like, I think 0.8.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And so now he's just, I mean, he thought it was a huge risk too when he did it. He thought it was just like a huge risk. He's like, I'm spending $2,000 or $3,000 on these things. I'm like, good Lord. Or I think it was $2,000 because Ethereum was probably trading around 3,400 or something like that, or 4,000.
How long do I have you for? Do I have time to ask you one more question?
Yeah, go ahead, brother. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So in December of last year, Dr. Profit had put out a post, like 10 things he expects to happen with OMI and Akomi this year. One of which was that other projects will be using OMI. Like he said, guaranteed.
Yes.
Speculating, what projects do you think would use OMI?
Oh, I could not speculate on the actual project.
Yeah.
I do. So the word on the street is that there is a video game that's already in development that's almost out that should be using OMI. That's the word on the street. It's either in beta testing or it's already out. But that's what I've been told, is that it's coming.
There was one, I don't even know if I could say it, but there was one small company that it was a game that did kind of announce a partnership with Akomi, but then they took it down real quick. So I don't know if I wanted to say that on here if they weren't ready to announce that partnership with. But is that the one that you were thinking of?
So, well, I'm not sure. So so what I was told by my sources is that it is a Pokemon developer. So it was the same crew that worked on it. It had some of the same crew that worked on the Pokemon Go developing game.
Okay.
So those individuals were part of whatever game this one is. So that's all I knew.
Okay.
It's not like, but I don't know who they are. And
all right, the one that I saw, which I can pretty much confirm, that was not it. So that was a different one.
Okay.
So and I'll talk to you off stream about that. But yeah, that was, but that was, so that's exciting. I don't know if I heard about that one with the Pokemon developers.
Now again, it's sometimes hard for me to aggregate that information from the people that I talk to, because those sources are saying, well, he worked on he was a developer on the Pokemon game, and it's like, well, where? Like what?
Yeah.
Like, where was he developer at? Was he like, hey, this was the guy who like just drew clown faces on people, or was this like like, was this the one who like, like actually was like, saying like, hey, here's how we're gonna geofence them?
Yeah.
Or was it just somebody that was like, look, I was on an art team and all I did was redraw what they gave us. So I don't know, but I definitely do like the idea that if somebody from that original game is on the new project that's attached to OMI, I'm happy. I'm happy.
Very happy too.
Yeah, I'm happy, because if it's a lead developer or somebody like on that level, like they spent money.
I mean, you see people, and for those of you that have been wondering, they're saying like, Akomi, they have the 30% fees with Google and Apple, and they have the licensor fees and all that. I'm 100% sure that they are operating at a very, very, very high net positive. But even if they needed money, all they needed to do is just have some type of IPO, whatever. They could raise billions of dollars like that to buy, whether it's Capcom, they could buy, whatever, not whatever they wanted, but they could buy other small gaming companies for billions of dollars. In that same breath, like you see a bunch of other companies like Sony buying up Bungie and Blizzard being bought up by Microsoft. Do you see that going the same way as banks buying each other up until there's only a couple of major gaming companies?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what Pepsi Cola did. That's what, what Coca-Cola did. Listen, when there's a shift in society norms, you then start seeing the consolidation of brands, licenses into like one wheelhouse, right? So Canada Dry, I think Canada Dry owns RC Cola too now. Like, and people are like, well, RC Cola is dead. I'm like, yeah, but guess what? For that regional operation that is still in existence, it's profitable for Canada Dry to own them.
Yeah.
The same reason that people used to say like, what were those? LA Knights, the sneaker company, LA Knights sneaker company. Well, it was just it was a subsidiary of Reebok. And so when that brand was no longer serving its purpose, guess what? Reebok still exists. They just get rid of that brand. So what we're seeing now is that banks are going to start consolidating. They're going to close branches. You will see like the Wells Fargo and the Banks of America, both banks of the world, in my opinion, and terrible organizations, but that's neither here nor there. They're going to have to start consolidating. They're going to have to say, hey, okay, we don't have as many people coming to banks anymore. what are we going to do to stay in existence?
Yeah.
And so that's why you're going to see them either purchase smaller brands, keep those smaller brands, so that they can stay relevant in communities, air quotes. But you'll also see that same thing happen to, other businesses and brands and IPs that are currently out there. And what was his name? The guy who said he broke the internet. I can't remember his name. He said his NFT broke the internet. What's his name?
Oh, Gary V?
No, not Gary V. It starts with a T, maybe.
T.
I can't remember. But he said like, oh, we broke the internet with our NFT. Like his company went around and started buying up dead brands like, Dress Barn. They were going around buying up these old brands and so they can sell them online in a completely digital format. So people who are like fans of the Bon Ton or, Dress Barn, who still remember those places, can purchase something from there. Same thing with NFTs. They're going to start buying up. And I think there's actually a gentleman right now. He's going around and Tay Lopez. Yeah. Him, his company went around and bought a lot of, dead companies that are no longer in operation with their physical place. Same thing was done years ago for other challenged organizations. They started to buy up things that people recognize. Those IPs that are recognizable lead to financial stability because, again, people will continue to buy thinking that, I can't go to Bon Ton no more. And if you don't know what a Bon Ton was, it's like Macy's or Montgomery Ward's. And you'd go there and you'd buy your clothes. Well, guess what? Those are all out of style. But if somebody sees that brand, they're going to buy it because, you can't get this anymore. At least that's the mindset. But the truth is it's just they're just sticking the label on something that came out of the Dollar Tree store.
Yeah, like if there was something like happened with like Twinkies and they made like Twinkie shirts or Twinkie, like when Dunkaroos came back, I was ecstatic. I was like, oh, snacks aren't even as good as I remember, but
they're not. They're terrible now.
But you buy them, those types of things where nostalgia is a drug, and so a lot of why I invested a lot into Square back in the day is because banks are a little classist. Like you need to have a certain amount of money to stay in them, but Square, the Cash App, they'll give you a bank account and a routing number. So I like for nothing. So I like them a lot. But yeah, these smaller gaming companies, if you get like someone was talking about, I think like if you have Pac-Man in there, in the Veve verse, just that, or Galaga, like those games back in the day, going into like even bowling alley arcades, they would have that. I've been playing that all day.
I remember, you get up to the, and this is how honest we used to be. Remember, you used to go up to the video game and you'd lay your quarters on the ledge, so that they know you were next.
You're next,
and you could go away and you come back and your quarters would still be there. I mean, that was a special time, man. That was a special time. I used to go over and I would get on Street Fighter, and I'd lay my quarters up there, and I'd wait, arms crossed, ready to go, like that tough guy look.
Dude, like a couple of dollars could get you so far back in the day. Like entertainment for the afternoon, especially if you were really good.
$5, baby. And if you were really good, you had you went home with $4.
Yeah. Marvel vs. Capcom. That was one of my big ones. Metal Slug. Those were,
yeah. I did the Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 2, I never was able to I never had the same success as I did on Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Street Fighter was always a great one. And then I don't think I played a lot of games. Well, I tried Tecmo Bowl though. Like they still had a Tecmo Bowl in there, and I tried to play that, but it just didn't feel the same.
Yeah.
And actually, I was telling one of my athletes that I coach, I was telling them, I said, man, I miss when I played Resident Evil, the first, Resident Evil 1, right? And you had your little memory card or whatever. And the kids were like, oh, you mean Resident Evil 8? I was like, no, like Resident Evil, like the first one was just like Resident Evil. That's what it was called. They were like, oh, there was a Resident Evil 1? I was like, yeah, it was on PlayStation. They were like, man, how old are you, coach? And I was like,
oh, they're too little. They don't know.
Oh man, I remember playing Resident Evil, drinking E&J, and having a Bud Ice.
I don't remember E&J. Remember Resident Evil? As my friend had that. He had it on the PS1. Some of
Oh
my
no,
favorites were like,
E and J like Irk and Jerk. It's like a brandy. So when we were kids, we thought we were tough. Like I was in high school, so
yeah.
you're like, I'm gonna have me a Bud Ice and some Irk and Jerk E and J, and then played. And we would literally just sit in my buddy's basement drinking. And Simpsons, the 4-player game.
Yeah, those are great. You each had like weapons. Like Marge had like her vacuum. Like
Yep.
Bart had a skateboard.
Yeah. Lisa had the saxophone.
Yeah,
I don't remember
forget what
Maggie
Homer had.
had.
I don't know. Maybe his car or something, or threw like donuts at someone, or
Yeah.
maybe had like some tough beer.
Well, she was always a special one. And you know, I still think, back to that show has now been on for over 35 years, I think.
Oh wow. Oh
It was,
yeah, it came out like late '80s, right?
yeah, it was on the original Tracy Ullman show back in the 80s. And I remember the first episode because it was like Santa's Little Helper was the first episode. And then after that, I mean, that cartoon. And that's why part of me, okay, so this is another conversation. I don't have much time, but I'm going to say this anyway because
Okay.
I'm going to start the fight. Homer and Bart deserve to be number one. They deserve to be. They deserved it. 100%.
Okay. Defend. Why?
It is the longest running continuous show ever. It is. It has gone by. It has had. It created its own world inside of an amusement park.
It's true.
They created it like this. Let's be very clear. The Simpsons have done what no other cartoon in this world has ever done. They have been on for 38, 39, 40 seasons, whatever it is. They have gone through characters. They have built their brand. They are doing, they are the epitome of what Disney has had to rely on in its when I call it the after Walt years. Because there were some really lean years there. Like they were making terrible movies, like all those Herbies and Chimmy Chang Bang. Like they went through all these movies and they never were able to get back to their cartoon greatness. The Simpsons sustained them through most of the 90s. Toy Story was able to catapult them back into being relevant, when they started coming out with those summer classics. And so I feel as though the Homer and Bart statues that rightfully deserve that first appearance of any Disney IP, they deserved it.
That's probably their thought process. Like, hey, you guys helped us through the hard times, and that's probably why. I mean, I like Bart a lot because I wasn't always great like at school, and there's one of the early seasons he is like threatened to like fail like the 4th grade, and he really tries to study, and he still fails, and the teacher's like, I thought you'd be used to failing by now, and he's like, no, you don't understand. I really tried, and he did, and he still didn't do it. I was like, oh, like that got to me. That like got me in the feels, saying like, see, it happens. Not everything.
But that's when they also discovered he had a learning disability, and they just didn't talk about it very long.
Yeah. And I was
like, oh, there's something wrong with the kid. It's not that he's stupid. He's like, I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
He got really excited about not being stupid. And trust me, as somebody that grew up with dyslexia, I totally understood that. I was like, oh, thank God, I'm not stupid.
Yeah. It's a disease.
Yeah, it's a disease. It's not syphilis.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on. Any last words that you want to tell people before we depart?
Obviously, no. First off, Randy, thank you for having me on. And for everyone who's watching, we appreciate you. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on Randy's page. And then on our page, go over to Gokshtein Media, check out my Big 3B podcast, and be on the lookout for more AMAs from Gokshtein Media. And you can follow me at Black Excellence on Twitter, but just go back over to Gokshtein Media. We've got some great resources for the community so they can start to understand cryptonomics, Crypto 101. We've got NFTs. We talk about everything you need to do to educate yourself in this space so that you don't get scammed, rug pulled, or just feel disenfranchised from the process, because there's a lot of people that will tell you a lot of BS out there and they're not looking out for you. I don't get paid for any of my endorsements. I don't get paid. I don't take paid endorsements. Actually, I don't, and me and OMI, that's just the one thing I written into my contract that I'm going to talk about because I've invested in it because I believe in my product. If you believe in a product, talk about it. If you don't believe in it, shut up.
Yeah. And so and just to bring this point home, you are very good at what you do, and you get paid to do these types of things. And yet OMI is one of the biggest things that you invest in, like second biggest next to Ethereum.
Honestly, in terms of investing, no, in pure investment, OMI is the biggest one I've invested in.
Okay.
So I had some Ethereum, and so like that's kind of been like I've used money to make money.
Okay.
But when it comes to OMI, like that's a pure investment. That's out of the belief that I truly believe that this company, this project that I was introduced to randomly in 2018. It was randomly somebody told me about this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was at the NFL offices. I was there to meet, and there's a picture. I always tell people, like, there's literally a picture of me and Roger Goodell talking, and a buddy of mine was talking to some guy about this augmented reality shit, and I was like, "You're crazy. You're crazy. This is stupid." Yeah, now I'm the idiot.
Now you're the one telling people, acting all crazy. I don't know, Biden's going to the moon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, I don't even say it's going to the moon. I'm like, listen, if you believe in technology and you believe, don't listen to me. Everyone, don't listen to me. Listen to a 12-year-old. If a 12-year-old likes something, buy it. You know why? Because that person will be in love with that thing for the next 15 years, 20 years. They'll be our age and they'll still be talking about, hey, remember when we had that OMI token? And remember when we had those digital collectibles? And nostalgia follows a generation. It follows a generation. Like shoe heads, sneaker heads, it's a generational thing. You see a lot of the sneaker heads, they're like, they're like, 30s and ups. They're dudes that grew up getting shoes.
Yeah.
These kids that are minimalist, they have phones and they have NFTs. So in 20 years, when I finally reach the rightful age of 60 something, in 20 years, when I finally reach the rightful age of 60 something, I'm going to look back, or late 50s. I'm going to say, hey, you kids buying these things again? And they're going to be like, yeah, I couldn't afford a Bored Ape when I was 15. But now that I'm 35, I'm buying me a Bored Ape. And that's what you like to see. So collectors, don't look at yourself. Look at the 12-year-old that's down the hall from you and ask them what they like. And then that's what we need to go invest in, because the future is now.
Dr. Strange got in because his kids that have like all these video game sets, and whenever they get a new one, like, oh, this is cool. But when he told them, hey, pick an NFT, whether it's Batman or Powerpuff Girls, whatever, they did, and they grabbed his phone and they were playing with it in the backyard in augmented reality before he even found the augmented reality button. He's like, what has got these kids so excited? And that's when he knew. He's like, oh, this is going to be huge. So a lot of people get. Yeah.
Ask the 12-year-old. And so, and obviously, I think that's the one thing that I really get excited about is that these kids, man, they're having so much more fun than I did with my Build-A-Blocks and my Lincoln Logs. And I used to, here's something that's funny. So you remember we were talking about like these, do you remember like the 80s were full of kangaroos? Like you had like Captain Kangaroo, you had like Lionel Kitty City, you had like kangaroos and Toys R Us. There was kangaroos everywhere.
I was born in '90, so I kind of missed that.
Oh, all right. Well, all right. I thought you were older than you are.
I'm glad I look like I'm 40 though.
Well, it's just your hair and the facial, but
that's true.
Well, so I'm older. But in the 90s, like in the 80s, there were all these like toy companies and toy stores, and they've gone. Like there's nothing that these kids have. Like you don't go to a toy store. There's no KB Toys. There's no Lionel Kitty City. Toys R Us was phasing out.
I remember.
Remember we were on Gokshtein, like a month ago. Like you start to remember that these kids don't have the same nostalgia that we will to physical toys. And so that's why for these NFT collectibles are so important for us to keep an eye on them, because when they finally get of age and they can finally purchase the things that they've always wanted to, this is what's going to fly off the shelf first. It's not going to be, my Lincoln Logs. It's not going to be my Legos. It's going to be these kids' toys because they're the ones buying it now. Because my partner is a big car head and always talks about like old cars. And I'm like, you're the only one that likes old cars. Nobody's buying them. Why? Because kids are here.
Yeah.
Or on this one. So yes, I do have 2 phones. One is my business phone. One is a work phone. And I also have my, hold on.
He's got multiple. He's got more. It's a sickness.
This is the Veve only phone.
One phone specifically for that.
Specifically for Veve, because remember when I told you I wasn't getting any drops, I went out and I was like, fuck it. I bought a phone just for it.
Has it paid off?
No. It did not pay off, but it has paid off being part of this Veve community, meeting guys like yourself, and being part of the Veve fam. I mean,
can we get you at a designer con next year or this year?
Is it going to be this summer?
Well, San Diego Comic-Con is going to be this summer, and Jeremy Padower did say he was going. So me and Taps are going to try to go meet him there.
Okay.
But Designer Con should be November again.
So I gotta see. So I take a trip every year. Jeremy and I said we're gonna get lunch next time I was in LA. But if we're in San Diego, I will find a reason to come down to a San Diego State football game, and then I'll meet you guys over because that's the only. Listen, I got to make my partner happy. Like, hey, where are you going? Football game. I'm not going to spend any money. I'm going to a football game. And if I say that, then it's like, what'd you buy? Nothing. That's why these NFTs are really a godsend.
Yeah.
Because we
keep them right there.
Or you tell your significant other, like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't buy anything today. I purchased it with Bitcoin.
It's great for lots of reasons. A lot of things are untraceable and all that.
Oh yeah, I'm here for the fun. I'm here for the fun. So, but thank you, Randy, for having me on. I do have to get going. So as I always say to everyone, have a great day and an even better tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. I'll just hang out for like 30 seconds afterwards. I got to do something real quick. But thanks everyone. I'll catch you all later. Say bye-bye to Dash. Bye-bye, Dash.